Everyone, you know how much Damo needs it's very important. It's very important. We need a injection of engagement and enthusiasm.
We do.
So if you're here, say hello. Say hello. And I need it as well. I'm a bit weary. Coffee Masterclass. I'm even going to say hi, everybody. I feel like I'm in the Muppets. I'm going to do a love heart. I'm going to get it going. I'm going to get it cranking.
Good. Me too.
So,
I'll do a like and a love heart.
do the likes. I've got a charger. Just hold on 2 seconds. I just got to get this charger going. I don't know what to do here. There we go. That's what I'll do. I'm going to move that over there. It's got a few cables. I'm not quite wireless yet. Can you... I know you can wirelessly charge your laptop, can't you? No, your phone. But it can only be done on a charger, a charging dock.
Yeah.
So, still got the old cable charger.
You're alive. You are alive, just so you know.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're not recording though, so...
Julie Hill's there.
I feel very comfortable with our Facebook audience going, where is Marcus? I can't hear him. He's moving all around.
He's always there.
If Julia Hill is here, then we can start.
Yeah, we can definitely start.
That is it. I love it. She's given you the love heart emoji and the smiley face, the happy smiley face emoji. I can see the smile on your face, Damo. Like, yeah, I know you love this.
I love it. It's always entertaining.
Yeah. So that's a topic for another day. The transformation in society that emojis has created, but that's a conversation for another day. All right. Good. I'm ready to rock. You ready to rock?
Good to go.
I think we're 4:33. If we're not, we'll just say we are.
Oh, do you want me to check?
No, just happy to take a risk. Nah, yeah, check.
Sure?
Check.
Right.
No, I'm not sure. I think we should check. I get a little bit nervous. Don't know why, because it's the most important thing that everyone wants to know. 4:33.
Wow.
Good.
Good work. Well done.
All right.
Let's go.
Here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Hello and welcome to 100 Not Out, a weekly show dedicated to helping you master the art of aging well. Marcus Pearce here with you for the 433rd time, and I couldn't have done one of these episodes without him. He is the country's #1 wellness expert, and he is the coffee connoisseur. He is Dr. Damien Christoph. Hello, brother.
Hello, brother. Great to be with you once again. And you're right, we couldn't have done this without each other. I couldn't have done it without you. There's no way. I would have pulled up stumps. I wouldn't have made it to 100 Not Out.
I think I would have got to about episode 27 at the maximum, I reckon.
What's the highest test score ever recorded? Would it be 433?
You wouldn't be far off it, actually.
Yeah.
You can Google it whilst we record, but I think we'll be pretty close to the cricket not out record score. I think we just lost every listener at the mention of the word cricket. But that's okay.
It was always a play. Like 100 Not Out was always a play. It's a great achievement. Raise your bat. When do you raise your bat? Is that 100 Not Out? And that's why we loved it. That's why we went with it. It was 100 Not Out.
Yep. We do love it. I'm so glad that we did call it 100 Not Out. Now, I've only been drinking coffee for about 5 years. Go on. Oh, you got to do something. Yep.
Well, I just want to say hi to Laura Barry and Julie Hill for joining us. I love that. Now, I also want to do a little shout out to a little listener that we have. We've got a little listener, and he has been listening for a couple of years. And little Jacob Rizaya has been listening to us for a couple of years now, and he said to me, I loved, and I reckon Jacob must be only about 8, I suppose, maybe even younger, maybe 7. He said, I loved it when Marcus drank the cat water. He said to me.
Keeping it real for you, Jacob.
So,
keeping it real.
That is awesome. I just think that's absolutely fantastic. So I said to him, what I'll do is I'll do a little shout out, say hello to you on the podcast, and I don't know if he thought I'll do it or not, but I've done it.
No, you're a man of your word, and what that story, and thank you for sharing that story, does just inject in me is a more vigilant approach to language choice.
Yes.
Knowing now that we have at least one 8-year-old listener,
Yes.
I am going to refrain from any SH words or anything else because
Yes.
it's that's it. So there you go. Good work, Jacob.
Great.
Now
Thanks, Jacob.
hopefully, unless he lived in Ireland or England where it's just the norm, hopefully Jacob doesn't drink coffee. Well, they normally drink a lot of tea in Ireland and England, but I've really been infected by the coffee craze through my association with you, and I'm so grateful for it because I love my coffee. And you have taught me a lot about coffee. And
Yes.
I know you love your almond milk. Joking. But we've often joked on this podcast that, long centenarians, the 100 not outers, they're all having coffee, wine, and chocolate, and everyone in society is trying to give up coffee, wine, and chocolate.
Yes.
But over the last 3 to 6 months, particularly the last 3 months, my morning routine has transformed in that I go down to the cafe at Footbridge at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I work till about 7:45, working on the book. So at this phase, it's working on marketing the book and making some videos and all these other things. But what it does, it changes my coffee habit. It used to be I'd have breakfast in the morning at home. So I'd get up at 6, I'd exercise, whatever, I'd make breakfast, have breakfast 7:30, go down to Mrs. Birdie's, have a coffee at about 8:45. And I often think of you, Damo, going, it's wise to have your coffee on a full stomach. Sometime, I think you're often like saying 30, 45 minutes after the meal. And I could be wrong, could be taking you out of context here, but I often thought of you when I was having a coffee going, tick, I'm having it on a full stomach. I can so feel why this is so much better. And now I have coffee on an empty stomach 5 days a week. And I have a large almond latte, which is now often a large oat latte. And I'm now beginning to go, well, hold on, like I'm not one that I don't feel like, Sarah is, I think, what you described as a slow metabolizer of caffeine. So she has the shakes and she feels it, like she feels that coffee all day long. Whereas I am I'm a fast metabolizer. It's kind of in, it's out. I don't really feel the buzz. I just like the taste, and I don't know, I feel more creative or whatever. But I want to know, and I think a lot of people would want to know this. Coffee. Is it, empty stomach, full stomach, too early in the morning? Should I be having a golden milk? The people that come in, I've got a heap of questions for you. Why don't you go there first? Because there's a lot in this.
There's so much. That's so loaded. That's definitely like that's not a 3/4 latte. That's a double.
I think it was like a 4-minute long question.
That's a double shot flat white. That question right there. Maybe a triple shot flat white. So the thing about coffee, apart from it being absolutely delicious, in my opinion, and obviously your opinion,
And mine.
is that we need to understand that it contains a chemical, a substance, which is a drug, and like sugar would be a drug, or like a vitamin might be a drug on the body. Essentially, a drug is something that signals the body to behave in a particular way. So in coffee, we have a drug that we talk of a lot called caffeine, and caffeine has an effect on the body, which is that it stimulates adrenaline or the sympathetic nervous system to fire up, so it gets going. So much the same as a fright, a little scare, a little bit of stress, a little bit of anxiety, that sort of thing would initiate a sympathetic response within our body, and that has a cascade of effects that take a while to calm down. So somewhere between 90 minutes and 3 hours it'll take for that sort of stress response or stress effect to calm down within the body. Now, there's also a clearance effect, and so for those people that are slow metabolisms of caffeine, slow metabolizers of caffeine, their effect will last longer. And for those people that are rapid metabolizers of caffeine, they'll clear it out of their system rapidly. They'll have the effect from it, and it'll be done, job done. Still, the effect of the impact of caffeine on the body, which is the stimulation of adrenaline secretion from the adrenal glands, the sympathetic nervous system response, that's going to last for 90 minutes to 3 hours. Now, that's where the issue is if you try to maximize the impact of caffeine in your diet. If you're not too concerned about the nutritional components of your diet, in other words, nutrition's not your forte, or nutrition's not really where you're hunting, or you don't think that nutrition's going to impact your longevity, or you couldn't give two fluffs about it and you wanted to focus on the other 6 main areas of your exceptional life, if you were just to leave nutrition aside, then you could just have caffeine whenever the heck you want it. But there is an impact.
And there are plenty of people that do that.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that have lived to 100 years old and have coffee at times that, from a nutritionist perspective, would be totally against the grain, so to speak.
Hello, Australia's oldest man, Dexter Kruger, who's probably having a coffee right now.
Yes, he probably would. Nah, it's probably a bit early for Dexter to have his.
Yeah, it is. It's not midnight.
It's about 9 hours too early. Laura says she always has hers first thing in the morning before she does exercise.
Well, this is kind of going to be my follow-up question. Is breakfast used to be the most important meal of the day, and you would break your fast by eating breakfast. But now, in the bulletproof Dave Asprey, and again, all love to Dave, but the whole philosophy around the first thing to pass your lips at the beginning of the day is like, you've just got a lot of people out there now that that have coffee first thing in the day. And again, at the moment, at this phase of my life, that's what I'm doing. I'm not hungry when I go to the cafe in the morning. I don't want to eat. I want to sip on things, so I'm having coffee and water, right? But there are a lot of people in the bulletproof movement that are having coffee on an empty stomach by design for health benefits as well. So, yeah, what say you?
I was waiting for that question. I think that what Dave's created is a great awareness around the ability of the body to be hacked, because that's a biohack at the end of the day. So we'll look at Laura. She says, couldn't imagine doing my job without coffee. LOL. Lots of love to you too, Laura.
Lots of love to you too, Laura. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. What that has created is an expectation that you can continue to hack your metabolism and hack your body for a long period of time. And there's only so many hacks that you can handle before your body will respond in kind and then start to rely on the outcome of the decisions that you've made, and your design based on your genetics. So you can continue to keep on pushing your body in a particular way and resist it, but at some point it'll all catch up with you. It always does. I used to brag about only having 4 hours worth of sleep.
I love these chats. I love them.
I used to brag about it, and I'd go, you sleep a lot when you're dead.
Sleep faster.
Yeah, if I'm, you sleep in cycles, 90-minute cycles, so 4 hours, and I wake up before my alarm. I wake up before my alarm because I didn't actually get into a restful sleep. But the impact was on my body was that I was in adrenal, run non-stop, sympathetic overload all the time, to the point that I wouldn't be surprised if I was to reflect back on all of that, and maybe if I did some bloods on myself, I might have, and that's when I lost the most amount of hair, was in that phase of, acceleration of stress in my body. And I did that through caffeination, exercise, not enough rest, not enough downtime, probably taking life too seriously, not actually having time to, kind of laugh and giggle a bit. So, you can definitely get into that mode, and that's kind of what I did. So the same thing is the case for caffeination prior to fueling your body. So some people will think that if they caffeinate with fat, let's say bulletproof coffee, they caffeinate with fat, that they will drive their body to lose weight, and that's exactly what their body requires, because somewhere along the line, someone interpreted the data in a way that would mean that hack can be done for a long period of time. That hack can be done for a short period of time. In my experience, I've seen that. I'm 40, what am I? 48 this year, I think. Is that right? 48 this year. I've been practicing now in nutrition for 20 odd years, 23 years. And what I've seen over the years is the impact of people poorly caffeinating. So it's not necessarily now let's just put this into context. If you're not worried about the way your body turns out when you turn 40 and you're approaching 50 and then you're moving to 60, if you're not worried about that, then do whatever you want. And when we look at people who age gracefully or age a long time, they're not necessarily overly consumed with their appearance. They're not going, oh, I'm going to do this because I want to get abs, or I'm going to do this because I want to shed kilos, or I want to do this because I want to get more ripped pecs, or I want to do the push-up challenge because I want to be as cool as Damo and Marcus. They're not doing that sort of stuff. They're just doing stuff out of enjoyment. So when we take caffeine and we have caffeine as part of a ritual, that's probably fine. If we feel like we're doing caffeine to biohack, it's probably going to catch up with us because there's a different intention surrounding it. If we caffeinate in a large quantity, a mega large, kick-ass, massive almond latte, bordering on oat milk more often than not, we're likely to be challenging our body. Yes, we may be doing something a little bit healthier than cow's milk, maybe, by doing oat or almond or turmeric or whatever it is. If you're doing all of that, the impact is still happening on your body. If you push your body into sympathetics and you're already running on sympathetics, and Marcus Pearce, you are running on sympathetics.
Is that good or not?
If you push further into that and you don't enable your body to go into parasympathetics, which is your rest, digest, and repair.
Yes.
If you don't go into rest, digest, repair when you're eating food, you won't maximize the output of your fuel. And that'll become a problem. And that's where you might store some. That's where you might get a little tummy. That's where you might get, if you're hormonal, if you're a lady and you've got estrogen running through your system, you may start to store body fat in areas where you don't want to store it. You might find it harder to burn fuel. For men, you might become more estrogenic. And as you get older, you'll increase your risk of heart disease and you'll increase your risk of different types of cancers, including prostate cancer and bladder cancer. So there's different things that actually happen as a result of it. So we just got to be careful of it. We've got to be mindful of it. It's not as, I'm not saying this is a set and forget, but just understand that caffeine has an impact on your body that drives a biochemical effect within your body.
I hope this is pushing people's buttons as much as it is mine, because I'm thinking of a lot of different questions that come up. So are you saying, a question just from that is, for the people that are listening, does coffee or caffeine have a worse impact on people that are slow metabolizers versus fast metabolizers? That's my first question.
Yeah, it does. It does, because caffeine lasts in the body for longer. So a lot of people will over drink it. So then they've got caffeine running through their body for a longer period of time. So then your body stays in a sympathetic mode and you pump out more adrenaline from your adrenal glands in response to the caffeine over a longer period of time. So it doesn't get the opportunity to normalize and come down, you know?
Yeah. So I know for Sarah, she will have a chai.
Yeah.
And I think the caffeine in tea is more of a calming, or at least you'd know it far better than I would. My terminology is not so great here, but there's nowhere near the spike when you're having a tea versus a coffee. Would that be fair to say?
No. Well, yes. Well, it's kind of like a little fright as opposed to a big fright. So you're not going to break into a sweat necessarily. You still get the fright, so it still gives you a little bit of lift. But it's not as big a lift. It's not as much caffeine, I suppose. But you still have
which for a slow metabolizer is the better option, right?
More than enough.
So then something that came up earlier that you mentioned about coffee or caffeine is a drug, and look, essentially anything can be a drug, but there are some drugs that are harder than others.
Yep.
Laura has said, and I'm glad she said it, because there's a lot of people that would say the same thing. I couldn't imagine doing my job without coffee. Yeah. Right. Same. Lots of love.
Same. Yep.
So I ask the inconvenient question around this is, what does that demonstrate? And I know a lot of people that like, if I can't function without my coffee. I'm not one that I can function without a coffee. I just really love the taste of a coffee. But I could have a turmeric latte, a golden milk, or a chai or a whatever. But I want to know that perspective, because this is something we've never really investigated a lot in Icaria, for example, except for Thea and you know, you know,
Frappes.
Lena, frappe! Like she cannot function without her coffee, right?
Yes, yes.
So I don't want to make any sweeping statements around this.
No.
But what I would love to know, in your professional opinion, what does that represent physiologically for the person that says I can't function without my coffee? What is that? What is that feedback if you were to translate it?
Well, it's probably an addiction, to be honest with you. That's probably what it comes down to. Your body's become, it's a requirement now for your body to function, or for you to feel like you can function appropriately. It's probably an addiction to the impact or the effect of caffeine on your body. Probably. It could just be that there's a trigger there, that when you put the warm cup to your lips and you smell the coffee and you get a little taste of it, that there's a trigger in your body that just goes, okay, good, we are ready to go. So that's a pretty good thing. Does that make sense?
So yeah, it does. So and then I've got down questions here around like the social triggers. Like for me, I only have a coffee out in the world. I don't have coffee at home. It just doesn't do it for me. I feel like I'm with humanity.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people. I'm talking right. So there's all of those anchors, I suppose. But on an internal level, like most people that drink coffee are going to die. They're going to live their whole life drinking coffee. Like you go again, just let's use Ikaria as an example. They'll sit out the front of the bar or the cafe and they'll have 4 coffees with friends and they're never going to quit coffee.
No.
So even if it is these triggers that you talk about and it is giving us a sign that there's an addiction and the rest, like in your either personal or professional opinion, does it require, like if someone has 2 or 3 coffees a day, I have one, but it's a double shot, right? Do people have to quit it? That's what I'm trying to get at. Because I'm like, coffee, wine, and chocolate, everyone's having it that we talk to. So where do you sit?
Yeah, I say you don't have to quit coffee. I don't think that's necessary, unless there's something going on in your body that you don't like going on in your body. So I don't feel like you've got to make any nutritional shift or change unless there's something happening in your body that you're not happy with. So let's say, for example, you're carrying some body fat, and you're carrying it in an area that will be associated or related to stress. We might identify that a great way to decrease that storage of body fat in that particular area would be to decrease stresses and stressors on your body, and then we make recommendation about maybe cutting back on your caffeine, or maybe using caffeine at a different time of the day, or changing the type of caffeine that you have. But let's say, for example, someone's highly stressed, highly strung, feeling anxious, can't sleep, is on the verge of depression. I would say get off the coffee, for sure, because there's a lot of things going wrong there. But if we look at the people in Ikaria or Sardinia, or even if we look at the Okinawans who are sucking down cups
green tea,
of green tea, like that
Yep.
caffeine is going into their body, but there's other things that they do in their life that would enable them to maintain parasympathetic control over their body. They rest and they digest and they repair. Now, I would say that if they're feeling anxious, even their medicine people would probably say, hey, cut back on the things that are driving you into stress. They might say something is depleting your chi if you're Chinese, or they might say something is increasing your ama if you're a Vedic Indian, or they might say something is causing you adrenal fatigue if you're a naturopathic practitioner. So what you're looking there for is a disease process or something that's going wrong that might need intervention. Now, if you feel like your bowels are moving more frequently and they're loose all the time, you might think, okay, my sympathetic nervous system is overrun at the moment. I need to back off a little bit of the things that are driving my sympathetic nervous system, because if I'm loose in my stools, that's an indicator that I'm malabsorbing and I'm not getting the most from my food, and it's highly likely that I'm a little bit anxious or stressed, or there's too much on my plate. So I've got to back off a little bit, and so you might make the decision to cut back on your caffeine or move it to a more appropriate place. I've always said, PC, that you're better off breaking your fast with a little bit of fuel, going to the gym, exercising, then refueling your body, and then having caffeine about 90 minutes after your meal. Now, if you start the day with caffeine, essentially you're going to be diverting blood away from the gut, because when you go into stress or when you trigger a stress response, you'll divert blood away from digestion. It's not a high priority to digest. And so when you're stressed, so your blood will move to your arms and your legs and your brain. You'll have increased mental clarity. You'll have increased mental capabilities. And this is the reason why people think that they need coffee to get going. It's the adrenal stress hormone, adrenaline, that gets that all pumping and feeling really good for you. But you are now diverting blood away from the gut as a priority. Your body's not going to want to digest the food that's in your gut. So if you are eating and drinking caffeine, it's highly likely that you will increase the transit time of your gastrointestinal system, unless your microbiome is disrupted and you're producing lots of gas. If your microbiome is disrupted, you're producing lots of gas, you might actually have stasis with your gut, and being more stressed could slow down your gut response, which is the reverse of what I just said.
You've opened up a can of worms right at the very end,
Yes.
but I don't care. We're going to say that this, because I have thoroughly loved this, this has been very enlightening. That last bit sent me into a whole nother stratosphere. But this has been, as we said it was on Facebook, this has been a coffee masterclass. If anyone can tell me that they did not learn one thing on this episode, well, they've been a naturopath and dealing coffee for the last 20 years, because you just lifted the lid. You lifted the lid on coffee, which I know I and all of our listeners and viewers are very grateful for, Legend.
We could go for hours, but I think what I suppose the key thing to understand is you can get away with it for as long as you can get away with it. But when things go south, if you're not getting the results that you're after, then you've got to change something up. That's all. So I would refuel, like what Pina says, has it on an empty stomach after exercise. I would say, Pina, it would be better for you to eat food rather than have coffee. If you want to get the most from your muscles and you want to get the most storage of glycogen in your muscles to keep you going through the day, better off having fuel rather than actually having caffeine. Otherwise, you're going to blow your body up. And then the other one, I suppose for Laura, I would also suggest that you have a little bit of fuel first before you get stuck into the caffeine. So that's what that'll be the go. And then Julie,
I love this one. I love it.
Drink coffee. I love that.
I feel sad for her, but I love it. I love it at the same time.
Well, maybe Jules is
good work, Julie.
I don't know, chai or tea or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, she might be like Sarah. Sarah is the number one chai snob you will ever meet. So much so that I was in the Brunswick Heads post office yesterday, and I found a little box of chai sprinkles. Now, for anyone here that is a chai snob, you will know that buying chai sprinkles for your wife is kind of like buying, I don't know, like 6 bottles of Icarian red wine for like Damo and I. It's just like she felt so loved with a little box of chai sprinkles. You know me so well. I love you so much. I'm like, totally chai snobs and carry on like that. So it's the best. It's the best. But anyway, whatever you love is that's a wonderful thing. We love coffee. Alrighty, thanks so much, folks. For more wisdom from Damo, head over to DamienChristoff.com. For more wisdom from my kids, go out to the living room because they're going wild at the moment. For myself, go to marcuspierce.com.au. Big shout out to everyone who makes this podcast possible. Joseph Tomo, our editor, every one of you listening, viewing, and consuming the 100 Not Out message. Thanks for the love. Please share this podcast with a friend. And until next week, continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Bye for now.
Alrighty. That's that.
How's the noise? How's the kids in the background?
Just 2 seconds. I'm going to tell them that I'm recording. Hold on 2 seconds.
Okay. We're going to do another episode. We're going to do another episode, everybody. So if you want to stick around for it, Marcus has got a very good topic, and it's actually a question from one of the listeners. And so we will be going through that, and we'll be starting that almost straight away.
Like right now?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Let me just let me just change our little ticker going across here.
Identity crisis. This is called identity crisis.
All right.
All right.
The ticker.
I'm going to send him a message so he knows.
Nice to see you there, Fiona. Thanks for joining us.
Isn't it amazing how much people love it when, people particularly in podcast land, like, oh, the lawnmower's going and someone's knocking at the door and the kids are going wild. But listeners, and we're all like this, we actually love the real lifeness of podcasts. Yeah. It's like we're not in a studio in Richmond. It's like we're in our homes. It's cool. Alrighty. Here we go.
Pritesh is here too. Hey, Pritesh.
So good. That's who I just sent a message to. That's so quick. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Hello and welcome to 100 Not Out, a weekly show dedicated to helping you master the art of aging well. Marcus Pearce here with you for episode 434. And every single week, alongside me, Monday morning, 6 a.m., it's not that time right now, but that's when this show comes out, is Australia's #1 wellness expert, my brother from another mother. He has the identity that a lot of us really do admire, and that is wherever he goes, he's loved, he's admired, he's respected. He is Damien John Christoph. Hello, great man.
Oh, MDP. You say all the great things. You say all the nicest things on the planet. You're the nicest bloke I know. Thank you, Piercy. Great to be here with you. Only probably now, as this goes to air, couple of weeks out from your birthday, I have to say. Turning 40.
Yep, that's right. Turning 40.
Turning 40. How are you feeling about turning 40?
Pumped. I'm so excited. Yeah. I'm a selfish firstborn Leo. I'm like, parties, my family's coming up. Yes. There'll hopefully be some nice presents. Yeah, I'll tick off all the love languages, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, and the others, no worries. I'll tell everyone how old I am. And as Sarah and I are both Leo, so we're like, your birthday goes for a week. You don't hide the fact. You celebrate. That's us. That's us.
I love that.
So that's very consistent with the Leo identity. And we've had a great message. And in Radioland, Damo, this would be your quintessential long-time listener, first-time caller context.
Caller.
I'd love to take live calls on this podcast. I would
love to do that because I think we can do that.
Can be done. It's just a matter of
episode with that.
Yeah. So, long-time listener, first-time caller. Big shout-out to Pritesh. And Pritesh is here on the Facebook Live because he is a very loyal Facebook Liver when we record these. And Pritesh sent a message recently, and I just love this question. Mm-hmm. And we've never done it, so we're going to dedicate today's episode to this very question. Okay. Good. First time asking your question. If you could produce some insight, that would be great. How does longevity get affected by an identity crisis? Is there a connection? If so, how does one overcome it? The context of this question stems from both of my parents who have gone from full-time 7 days a week work running a convenience store for 15 years to no paid work now as they are semi-retired. When I approach both my parents about their purpose in life now, their answer has always been to support you, me, their son, and to help you live a better life. This answer is very typical of immigrant parents. Any help is much appreciated. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't reply to that on a Facebook message. You've got to do a whole podcast episode to answer that question. It's a belter. So thank you, Pritesh.
This is one of Marcus's favourite topics. There's no doubt about it. And Pritesh, I don't know whether or not he put you up to asking that question, but this is a question that he could have written himself because you're going to love talking about this, Piercy. I can tell right now. Look at you. You're sitting back. He's got his left shoulder lifted. Or is it your right shoulder? I don't know.
It's my right, but that's okay. Shoulder. I can teach you lefts and rights, but you've probably got me in reverse mode as you do. But anyway, I want to hand you the floor. Because I want you to go first. I want to hand you the floor.
No, I want okay.
All right. No, because I'll bang on. You won't get a word in. Right. And I'd love, because I think it's really important. You have more international heritage in your upbringing, for one, and
meat pies and sausage rolls. Well,
no, but you've got a more broader life experience than I do. Mine's all going to be third party stories and the rest of it. So anyway, floor is yours.
Today I was playing golf. Surprise, surprise. Played with a bloke, ripper guy, David LePage. He's a great golfer and he breaks for Richmond, which puts him right up there in the top 10% of my guys. Right? Really good bloke. He said to me, Damo, what do you reckon are the top 5 things that you need to live a long life, to have longevity? I said, Lapper, there's only 3. He goes, what do you mean? I want the top 5. I go, mate, I know you teach maths, but it's only 3. And I said, the 3 are movement, engagement, and purpose. And so, Pritesh, it's such a great question that you asked, because when you have purpose, in my opinion, you have one of the top 3 most important things in your life that you could possibly do to contribute to a healthy, long life. Now, the other components, including nutrition and everything else that we would talk about, and particularly that Marcus talks about in his book, Your Exceptional Life. If you haven't bought a copy, get to your nearest bookshop and get it, or go to marcuspierce.com.au and order a copy. But I would say that, you like that little ad in there, I'm rapt that your parents' purpose might change. And it's okay that your purpose could actually change. The key thing is that you have a purpose. So if you go purposeless, then you kind of go rudderless. But if you have a purpose, whatever it is, as long as it's identified, then you're going to be fine. You're going to be great. And it's totally fine if there's a little bit of a grapple with the shift or the change in what the purpose is. You know, do we want to change our purpose from helping our children have an exceptional life and move towards the grandkids, or do we want to be a bit more selfish and, you know, our purpose now is to fulfill our bucket list of 100 things to get done before we die? Do we want to jump on the GAN and get across on the train and do that sort of stuff? Is that, if that becomes your purpose, as long as there's a purpose, in my opinion, that's a great thing, Piercy. What say you?
Oh, great wisdom. I'm with you 100%. I think, Pritesh, I can't speak for your parents, but in listening to the question, clearly they've had a goal in life. And like you said, very common for immigrant parents to go, we want for our child. And again, thank you for the plug, Damo. I do write about this in the book because I think it's a massive seed for life purpose, particularly children of...
question and you gave it to Pritesh.
I know. It looks like one of those Dorothy Dixes. It's like, mate, can you ask this question? No, because this only has...
He can't answer, so he can't answer.
That's good. Yeah. Don't get a fine. Don't get a fine, Pritesh. Yeah. No, I feel very strongly about this because people get to the end of their working career, and if they haven't established what the next goal in their life is, then they end up watching Netflix 8 to 10 hours a day and don't have a goal. They become rudderless, as you said, Damo. Yes. And it seems to me that, Pritesh, I'm not sure if you're the only child, and I'm not sure exactly what age you are, but you're a grown adult. If you've got your life sorted, so to speak, well, then your parents don't have much to do, if you know what I mean. If they've sold their business, left their business, they don't have a business to look after. So if their business is a baby, that baby's now grown up, or that baby's now moved out of home. If you're now fully independent, you're not reliant on them, then where is their value to society, to community? And that is a point most human beings get to in their life. At different stages, that point changes. So my Sarah will face this in 2 or 3 years when Spencer turns 5 and he goes to school, and she'll be like, oh my gosh, my kids don't need me from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. What the F do I do? That's a challenge that a lot of people face at that phase of life. If people get 40 years down into their career and they get to retirement age and they might get laid off, they might get made redundant, they might retire, but then realize that the void in life was a lot bigger than what they thought it would be. You know, Damo loves his golf, and you know how much Damo loves his golf, but there are some people that think, I'll just play golf, but it doesn't fill their buckets as much as they kind of hoped it would. And then they do go back into a bit of part-time work. And a lot of people also grapple with, they might want to play the trumpet, play the piano, learn French, do puzzles all day, but they've been so used to not giving to themselves that trip on the Garn seems too self-indulgent for a lot of people. They don't want to spend their money with warm hands, as Eddie JQ says. They want to spend their money with cold hands and live frugally and eating corn out of a can because they think they want to give all of their money, all of their work to their children or their grandchildren or a cause when they die. So it's a big challenge. It's a massive shift in life. And maybe the frustration, I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to speak to it too much, Pritesh, so I'll talk generally, but often the frustration can be that you cannot control your parents' lives. It was not something you ever thought about when they went to work every day and were completely self-sustainable. And now if you see them not living with the same level of productivity or poise or purpose, that can be frustrating to watch. And sometimes we have to watch the train crash. It's hard to watch, but you cannot change people, no matter how much we might want to sometimes. But regardless of whether they're your parents, Pritesh, or anyone watching or listening to this, there are times in our lives where significant identities change. You have a child. You go from not being a parent to a parent. Your child leaves home. We've spoken about, or maybe Damo, we were preparing for this in our conversations with Anna Rubinstein, which we haven't done that interview yet. But there are many rites of passage in life. It's not just when the boy becomes a teenager and the teenager becomes an adult and then the adult leaves home. There are so many rites of passages, and they are happening right now for Pritesh's mum and or dad at the minute, and we cannot deny the importance of facing it head on. My last comment on this is that most people in society will numb themselves with TV or something else and not actually face that chapter head on, because it can be very painful to go, I went from having all of this value in society to now I don't know if I have any value in society, so I'll just watch TV instead, because it's too big a question to grapple for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Big answer. Big answer.
Big answer.
I love that.
I'm only just beginning, so that's why I stopped.
For a breath and a little bit of water. I really love this, and I love that we can talk about identity as being something that's changeable, because I think a lot of people would attach themselves to an identity. So when people say to you, "What do you do, Damien?" It's easy for me to say I'm a chiropractor, but there's other things that I do. I do family. I do husband. I do friend. I do golf. And who am I? Well, I'm a happy person who loves life, and I love to hang out with my family. And I enjoy my podcast with Marcus every single week, and I play golf. So they're the things that I am, and I would say that I'm a good person. So they're the things that I would say that I am, and maybe so in that respect, that's my identity. In terms of my purpose, that will shift and change over time. However, at the moment, my purpose is moving towards from obviously raising and getting Jackson through primary school, secondary school, university, into adulthood, and all that sort of stuff. That was my purpose. For that part, now my purpose is ensuring that I have a great relationship with Amber so that we can grow old together, which is really important to me. And so my purpose, I'm purpose driven on that, to do the right things by Amber and by us, to make sure that we have a great life together. And then my engagement and movement is something else, but my purpose is that. So my purpose isn't to get up and go and play golf. My purpose is to continue to nurture and nourish that relationship. And I love being a chiropractor, but I don't think that's my purpose. I think my purpose is to really, focus on my relationship. I think that's really important. So, but could I be wrong there, PC?
No way. There's no wrong answer with this at all. What I've loved about you ever since I've known you is, for you, your identity it's so malleable. You're not one thing. Actually, that would constrain you. Mm-hmm. You would never want to say, I'm a chiropractor. I mean, you're the only, I know there's a few out there, not many, but you're the only chiropractor I know who's also a naturopath. And before that, you were going to be the world's greatest accountant. I mean, you are multiple, you have got multiple professional identities. You've had serial companies. You're a great speaker from the stage. You've run events and helped people all over the world. Like you said, you're a great husband, a great father, a great son, a great brother. So, so many identities. What I think in the example of Pritesh is that sometimes we end an identity willingly or not, and we're not sure what the next identity is, which is very scary.
Yeah.
Like very scary.
Yes.
And we're not sure what to do about it.
Yeah.
And society, particularly our little young Australian culture, is either too immature to guide and mentor us through it. Do we go and talk to our grandmother or our grandfather over a cup of tea about, like, Nana, I'm lost. I've been running a business for 15 years. I've sold it. I thought I'd go and do yoga every day and catch up with friends and give some money to charity, and that'd be me, but it's not ticking it for me. Like, what do I do? Like, we don't have that culture where we go and be vulnerable and tell people that we're struggling with an identity crisis or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So we do have to be very cognizant of the fact that our culture doesn't support the transformation of one identity to another. I mean, you can't even work. What is it? You can't even. I feel for a lot of parents that try and juggle work and raising children, because it feels like no one can do it right these days. You're wrong if you're a stay-at-home parent. You're wrong if you're not spending enough time with your kids. You're wrong if you're sending your kids to childcare. You're wrong if you're not sending your kids to the right school. You're wrong if you're an employee and haven't started a business. You're wrong if you're an employer and haven't got a safe job to feed the kids, or it's very difficult to have an identity that society will honor. So the challenge is to craft an identity that you love and that you're happy to grow up, to wake up every day with and go, I can't wait to be a Richmond supporter today, a golfer, a brother, a son, and a husband, because they're the priorities for the day.
So where's your identity at right now? How do you identify as yourself?
My identity is, for as long as I've been a parent, has largely been to my dad, best mate, great dad. But the challenge was, my biggest lesson was that he overinvested in his career, in his business, at the expense of his marriage and the family. So I've always said, and I'll say it again in the book, my biggest nightmare, and this is the answer to your question, my biggest nightmare is to have the identity of the divorced husband who's reversing out of the driveway for the very last time of the quarter-acre memory maker that they put all this time and money and energy and effort to create a life, and all of that falls apart by over-investing in purpose, so to speak, at the expense of family or social or taking a bit of time out or whatever it is. So my identity has largely been intertwined to be not just great in business, but not to be too good in business, if you know what I mean, to be really, it's like an equilateral triangle of business, husband, and dad. But at the same time, even as I say that, like, to be a great dad for me is to be a great brother, because a sibling relationship is the longest relationship any one of us will ever have. And I want my 4 kids to have great sibling relationships. So I nurture my relationship with Olivia and Georgia as an extension of my identity as a dad. And it's the same with, so I don't think it's as linear, and I'm so glad that you said it, your purpose, your focus right now from purpose perspective is your marriage, because you're at the point where it's like, Jackson's finished school, he's probably almost finished uni, like, he's so independent of you guys that it's so important for you to have a great marriage for the next 50, 60 years. Because if you don't, then who cares how much money you've got in the bank and how good your business is and how many friends you have, because you won't have that ingredient. So, yeah.
I agree, mate. Yeah, I 100% agree. I love all of that. I love all that's really good. And it's interesting because you could quite easily see that as an identity crisis and people could be confused. If you don't see that your identity is malleable and changeable, and also that your purpose is malleable and changeable, the type of movement that you might do is malleable and changeable, and your engagement is malleable and changeable. It's all going to change. It's when you are identity-less, or if you drift apart or drift away from the people that actually help you maintain your identity. I think that's where you might feel a little bit rudderless, and so you just make a decision to decide. You just work out, how do you maintain relevance with someone else's identity, if that's what your desire is, or if that's not your desire, then you move on from that. But I would encourage people to cleave less, like chop off less and mend more. That's what I would encourage people to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit like last week's episode on Coffee Demo. We could talk about this for an hour.
Yes. I'm
really tempted to talk about, self-worth and wrapped up in our purpose and who are we if we're not at work or if we're not with kids and the rest, but I won't, because that will just go on and on. But I'll just drop the seed of of how much self-worth is wrapped up in your purpose, and you don't want to have too much of it, because that's when it can get hard when something gets taken away from you. But I do think for Pratesh and for anyone listening that feels like they are going through, or they can feel an identity crisis coming on, I do love, as a little takeaway here, I do love The Shift, which is a B grade movie with an A grade lesson featuring the late great Wayne Dyer and the effervescent Portia de Rossi, great Australian actress.
Yep.
Portia de Rossi, Wayne Dyer, and a few others, because in that movie, one of the characters, I think Wayne Dyer talks about the different points in life where major shifts do happen. And Damo, that I'm a big believer in the 7-year cycles, but every 7 years, often there's an identity shedding and there's a new identity arriving. And at 28, it can often be the shedding of youth. Often, or some might be at 35, whatever. But these are really important milestones, and they're not wrong, and they're not to be feared. And whether you're 63, 65, 70, 77, doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be an exact multiple of 7, but you do get to phases of life, particularly when your professional income generating life ends, that probably one of the biggest identity crises occurs, and we've got to know that it's coming.
Yeah. Wow. Good. Great chat.
Sorry, one more takeaway, Damo. Charles Eugster, if anyone wants to listen to past episodes, Charles Eugster is perhaps one of the best interviews, one of the best guests we've had on 100 Not Out, because he spoke about this. And Dame, I don't know if you remember this, but Charles Eugster was a dentist up until I think he was 75. Then I think he had a dentist newsletter that was either weekly or monthly that he quit. He ended it at 82 years of age because his wife died, and he thought that he would die when he was about 85. And between 82 and 85, 86, he lost all purpose. He was rudderless, in using your terminology. And then he realized that if he was going to live a long time, he better reclaim some purpose. So he became the world's oldest oarsman. He won gold medals in rowing, and then he became a bodybuilder, and then he did that great TED talk that we've referenced many times. And in his own words, he became vain, and he grew abs and pecs and the rest. So this happens to every single person.
Episode 115.
There you go.
Listen to that one. But yeah, you're right. That might almost be ready to drop off, Piercy.
Well, it would have if it's the 300 episode rule. I have a feeling that I'll just check Spotify. If anyone's listening to this on Apple iTunes, I don't know if Spotify has the same 300 episode rule.
We'll have to check that out.
Because it is I'm pretty sure.
This out to the audience, and this is everyone on Facebook and everybody listening on Spotify and iTunes and Stitcher, whatever you're listening to. What I'd love you to do is to email us at marcus@marcuspierce.com.au and let us know what your favourite episode is, because what I'd love to do is actually get all of our favourite episodes and make like a hottest...
Make a book.
Make a hottest 100 of 100 Not Out, and that goes up as like, these are the best ones to listen to, Like, what are your favourite? I'd love to do that.
Well, Damo, you are going to love this, and I probably think I've just converted you.
Yes.
Spotify, April 1, 2013, an 18-minute episode, 100 Not Out, 01, Breaking the Aging Stereotype. It's available. It's only on Apple Podcasts, the 300 episode rule. Right. Episode 2, Tommy Hafey. Episode 3, DeMartini.
Wow. All there.
Yep. Episode 4, your mate Charles Krebs. Episode 5, Walter Bortz. David Wolf. Episode 6,
Piercy?
Jan Smith.
Piercy,
yeah.
We could go on,
yeah.
But I am, in 1 minute's time, about to speak to your
Gotta
sister.
go. Okay. Jagger, we got Dr. Jagger. Dr. Jagger, episode 8.
I'll be on
that's so good.
Chatting with you in a second when Marcus shuts up.
To all of our 100 Not Out community, we love you. We could talk all day, and we could tell you every episode. We could be that boring dad or boring brother that tells you about everything we've done over the last 8 years, every single episode. I remember episode 297. But we won't indulge you with the details. You can go and listen. I know.
Me have a sympathetic response.
You go to your appointment, Damo. To all of our listeners, thank you. If you want more of Damo's wisdom, head on over to DamienChristoff.com. Myself, MarcusPearce.com.au. Pratesh, we hope that answered your question. And if you have questions you would like us to talk about on 100 Not Out, whether it's coffee, whether it's identity, whether it's superfoods, anything else, drop us a line on the socials at 100 Not Out. Until next week, as always, continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
Bye for now.
I just wanted to string you out just so that one last little strand of hair just popped.
Look how
And
shiny
it's got my name on it.
from all of that. Anyway, thanks Fiona.
Yeah.
Thanks Julie. Thanks Pratesh. Laura.
That was
Julie,
fun.
Pina. Who else was there? Wendy was there. Great to have everybody there. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, good work. I didn't get many comments. You get all these comments.
Missed out today.
Oh, no. And so did Pete Lennon.
Pete, he missed.
And Wendy Adams.
Yes. No, Wendy was there.
Laura Barry says, great episodes.
Yeah, Wendy was there.
I see. I don't know. I don't have enough pull in 100 Not Out. I don't get to see any of this. I get to see, like... I'm going to go into victim mode.
Jeez,
Zuckerberg's not giving me anything. Oh, I'm going to get sulky.
I'm going to speak to Olivia.
You got to talk to my sister.
I'll say
Yeah.
hi to Olivia for you.
Send her my love.
I will.
All right. See you guys. See you
See you,
Facebook.
buddy.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Take care now.